What's up guys, my name is Ivan Valdovinos, and this past June I completed my first year as a PhD student in Education Studies at the University of California, San Diego. In this video, I share with you my final grades that I received after the first year of my PhD program. If you enjoy graduate school life and advice, consider subscribing. I'm going to start off by providing some context of my program. So my program runs on a quarter system, which means that I take courses in the fall, winter, and spring quarters. Each course or each quarter I'm required to take 3 courses, and I believe the courses are 4 credits each. My program also requires all the first year students to take a transforming education course series, which means I take one transforming education course in the fall, winter, and spring. Obviously, each quarter is a different topic, which I'll go more into once we look at my transcript. My program also requires all of their students, regardless if you're a first year, second, third, fourth, or fifth year, every year of your program, every quarter of the program, you are required to take a research apprenticeship course, which is 2 credits, and it's usually with your advisor, your advisor that's going to be on your committee and your chair. And then finally, for the first year, I did take my classes asynchronously, which meant that I had a set time where we met on Zoom, and we obviously took the course. So during the fall quarter, which is my first quarter of the PhD program, I took 3 courses. So the first course that I took was called Transforming Learning Environments. The other course I took was Introduction to Qualitative Analysis. And then the final course was a research apprenticeship. So the first quarter of the PhD program at UC San Diego, what they required you to do is take a research apprenticeship course, which is 4 credits. And then after that, it's going to be 2 credits. And it's going to be in addition to 3 other courses. But because they want you to ease into the PhD program and PhD work, they required us to take this apprenticeship course as a 4 credit course. That way we're able to learn what this is and how the program is structured. And so in this research apprenticeship course, what we really did was just kind of the professor brought in guest speakers from the program, and we got to learn about their research. And it's really a course that allows us to kind of find our research interest and learn about the faculty and other students who maybe could align with your interest. That way you're able to meet with them and they can help you out with your research projects as well as your dissertation. So it was really a course for us to learn about research, different types of research analysis, different types of research of collecting research, different methods, things like that. So it was really just for us to explore research. And obviously the topic is education, so educational research, and meet new people and build our networks. For the Intro to Qualitative Analysis, which is probably my favorite class this quarter, we did obviously qualitative analysis. So we had to do a final paper where we conducted a small little research project that was not too formal. They only required us to do the methodological part of it, just because obviously the class was focused on qualitative research analysis, and we were learning about different analyses and different qualitative methodologies that we can maybe employ when we were at different stages of our career. And that course was my favorite just because I am a qualitative educational researcher, so I am really well versed in different methodologies, obviously in qualitative analysis, and I really enjoyed the class. I was able to explore a little bit more, learn a little bit more about qualitative analyses and different methodologies I never heard of, such as like case study, for example. I've heard of the term, but I didn't really go into depth when I was an undergrad. So in this course, I was able to learn what a case study is, and that's probably what I'm hoping to do in the future in terms of my dissertation. Finally, the last class that I took was Transforming Learning Environments. So this is more of a theory-based course where we were learning about the learning sciences and how we can transform those spaces by employing different methods and obviously theories. Honestly, this class is probably my hardest class this quarter and this year, to be transparent. I honestly never thought that I had anxiety, and after taking this course, I learned that I had anxiety. I literally almost had an anxiety attack just because the content was really difficult to understand and the teaching practice was interesting. What we had to do really was read articles, and then we had to write a two single space page essay that we submitted before we went to class. So we were really trying to learn the theory for that week by ourselves before we went to class, and that's really difficult for me. I usually thrive more when there's like a little lecture discussion in class, and then we apply that knowledge into a paper. That's the way that I like to learn, and this is the opposite. She wanted us to critically think and problem solve on our own prior to learning the material. So the articles that we read were really dense. I didn't understand anything. Luckily, throughout the quarter, I ended up meeting up with other classmates because they were also struggling. And honestly, everybody in the class was struggling. It's just a hard class. And I ended up getting an A+ for the course, which I was shocked because, like I mentioned, it was the hardest class I ever took that quarter, but also all year. And I ended up getting an A+. I ended up getting 100% on my final. The teacher even said that I should consider this line of work for my dissertation. Obviously, I'm not doing that because this class was super difficult, but I was shocked with the outcome of the course. I did receive an A in qualitative analysis as well as an S, which is satisfactory, which means I passed for the research apprenticeship, which meant that I ended the fall quarter with a 4.0. During the winter quarter, I also took 3 classes of 4 credits in the 2-credit research apprenticeship course. So the first class I took was transforming outcomes, then I took introduction to quantitative analysis, and then I took advanced research evaluation methodologies B, qualitative analysis. And so let's start off with the apprenticeship. Honestly, this was more, what my advisor did was she met with her group of advisors, which was like about 7 of us, and we met every week, and then we switched it up to bi-weekly, and we just discussed different, just graduate school, careers, research methodologies. We discussed articles in the we call it a rack. And this is a group that meets, and you meet with your advisor and their advisees, and you get to connect with other scholars who have similar research interests as you. You obviously get to meet with your advisor on a weekly basis or bi-weekly or monthly basis, depending on how your advisor structures their racks. And you just learn a lot of different things. So we talked about like fellowships, we talked about research, we talked about articles, we talked about careers, and pretty much that group is for you to ask your questions about academia, about research, how to progress through the PhD program, about your challenges, your triumphs, your successes, whatever it is, you discuss it in this group. So my favorite class this quarter was probably, again, advanced research evaluation and methodologies course, just because I am a qualitative researcher, like I mentioned earlier, and I really was able to learn and dive deeper into qualitative research. And like I mentioned, in the fall quarter, I learned about the case study methodology, which in this quarter I was able to utilize in a small project that I did as well. And so I actually got to interview some people. I did some observations, and then I wrote a paper on it, and analyzing my data. So I really like that because it's giving me hands-on experience in terms of what I should probably be doing in the future, not only with my dissertation, but also future research projects. So it's preparing me to be a critical educational researcher. So I really like that, and it was my favorite course. I ended up getting an A for the course. Then I also took Introduction to Quantitative Analysis. Honestly, coming into my PhD program, my biggest fear was quantitative research. Just because I'm not well versed in it, I don't like it necessarily. It's hard, it's challenging. I did take an introduction to stats course in my master's program, which I don't even know how I got an A in that course, but I did, and it was very difficult. So I was fearing quantitative analysis or quantitative methodology in the PhD program. I ended up getting an A in the class, and I was able to learn how to use Stata, which is one of the softwares that you can use if you are trying to be a quantitative researcher. I would say that I did learn, and I feel more confident being a quantitative researcher, but honestly, I don't see myself doing this line of work in the future. Finally, the last course that I'm going to talk about here is the Transforming Outcomes course. Again, this was a challenging course because it is theory-based, but I really enjoyed this one because outcomes can mean a lot of things. For me, I'm interested in higher education, so I was able to kind of dive more deeper into the outcomes of students from low-income backgrounds, first-generation minorities, and how outcomes can be driven by different practices and how theories can inform those practices and those policies. And honestly, this was my favorite class as well because the professor was a higher education focused professor. So a lot of the articles we read were focused on higher education, which I really liked. I entered the class with an A again, and the final was kind of a group literature review. For the spring quarter, I again took 4 courses. One of them was Transforming Educational Systems and Policies. The other one was Advanced Quantitative Analysis. The other one was Research Apprenticeship. And the last one was a directed group study of higher education systems in the United States. So this quarter was probably my favorite because it did wrap up my first year of the PhD program, but because we were talking about policy, higher education, systems, and that's really what I want to do in the future. Right now I'm thinking about either being a professor or becoming a vice president of a community colleges. So because I do want to because I do potentially want to become a vice president, this is the perfect group of courses for me because I do want to shift and transform systems and policies for higher education. The first course that I took was Directed Group Study, Higher Education Systems in the United States, which was taught by my professor, which was taught by my advisor. And so that was great because I got to connect with my advisor on a different level. She got to see my work and my writing skills, and then she also got to obviously listen to my perspectives and my opinions and my thoughts in discussion during the class. This class was small. We only had 4 students plus the professor, so we were able to really dive deep into the articles that we were reading. We were really able to ask these more intimate questions about changing and transforming systems in higher education, and so I really enjoyed this class. This class, the content was really focused on California educational systems, but I like that even though I'm not from the state. It's always nice to look at other states' systems in higher education and policies and practices, and you can use that to inform your state policies and practices. So I really like that, and honestly, California has one of the largest and probably one of the best community college systems, and that's really what I want to learn more about. So I was able to kind of dive deep into different community college policies, practices, and their strategic plans for different community colleges. So it was really interesting and I really enjoyed the course. And I ended the class with an A. Again, the Research Apprenticeship course, that one was with my advisor. We did bi-weekly RAC meetings where we discuss different things, research, careers, fellowships, scholarships, things like that. Then I also took Advanced Quantitative Analysis class. Again, I was fearful of quantitative analysis just because I'm not strong in it, but this class was actually I felt like it was easier because the teacher was very structured. He wrote out every single step that we needed to do on Stata, the software that we used, and I was able to complete all of my work on time, and it was a little stressful, but I was still able to complete it, and I thought I learned a lot. Hopefully I can retain those skills and that knowledge that I gained in this class, because I might consider doing a mixed method project for my dissertation in the future, and maybe just dabble into mixed methods, combining qualitative and quantitative analysis and methodology in my projects in the future. I ended the course with an A again. And then finally, the last class I took was Transforming Education Systems and Policies. This was a really fun class because we really dove into the policy arena. And I don't consider myself a policy fanatic, to be honest. I try to stay away from politics, but we learned this new thing. I think the professor called it like policy advocacy, and I really like that. So it's pretty much just advocating for policy change with research. So we learned these skill sets. The final was this fun, we had to create an advocacy tool. We also had to create a policy brief. And so I really liked that, and I hope to do that in the future to kind of shed light to some of the issues that are of importance to me in my state. I entered the class with an A again and a 4.0 for the quarter. Alright you guys, so that ends my video on reviewing the final grades for my first year of my PhD program. As you can see, I ended the whole year with a 4.0, but I do want to provide some insight on grades, really. So the first thing I want to say is that grades don't really matter. At this level of the PhD, you should expect to receive a 4.0. Obviously, that's if you complete all your work on time, if involved in discussion and engaged in the course, then you should expect to receive a 4.0. What you should be more worried about is learning the content, the skills, because that's what you're gonna have to master when you are in your career. So if you want to become a professor, for example, then you want to pay close attention to your methodologies classes, because it's going to help you learn all the skills that you might need for a job as an academic researcher, whether it's at a university or a think tank. So you want to pay close attention to that versus trying to get the grade. You also want to learn about the theory, because obviously the last milestone of your PhD program is a dissertation, which is a large research project. So you want to make sure that you are able to execute and conduct that project. So you want to learn all the theories that maybe you could potentially employ in that project. So at the PhD level, the focus should not be on getting an A, it should be on mastering the skills and theory. Thank you for watching this video, and I will see you in the next video.